Hey everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the new 112 Collective Tiger Stripe Wolverine figure from Mezco Toyz. Now this figure was offered as a New York Comic Con exclusive. So with this, you've got pretty simplistic packaging. You've just got this yellow box with the X on the front. You've got the 112 Collective logo up in the top corner. You also have a Mezco exclusive sticker with metallic gold. And then down below, you've got Wolverine's name and the Marvel Comic logo. On the sides of the packaging, you just have the X-Men X. And then on the back, you have an image of Wolverine himself. All right, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other contents. Now, first of all, like we get with all the 112 Collective figures, we get this Ziploc bag that's got the 112 Collective logo on it, and also has a place where you can write something so you can mark what's in the bag. And basically, this is for storing all the extra accessories that come with the figure. The figure also comes with a stand, and we see this with all the 112 Collective figures. So you get the basic circular disc, and with this one you've got the X with the yellow, and you've got a stripe of dark blue here, and you've got the little peg here. And so you can just use this as a regular figure stand. You got the 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. You just plug in the figure there. And usually these work pretty good. I mean, if you move it around a lot, it'll probably fall over, but for the most part, it does help your figure stand. And then you can also use it as an actual flight stand, so you get this clear plastic arm. And what you want to do is you just pop out this little peg, and the easiest way to do that is just push it out from back using the flight arm. And it'll just pop out, and then once you do that, you can plug in this plastic arm, and then you get articulation here at the bottom, so you can rotate there at the bottom, and then you get the up and down movement. You also get back and forth movement here at the midsection, and then up here towards the top. This little clamp will actually pull off if you want to, and use the clamp to basically put it around the figure's waist to give them, so you can put them in some flight or jumping poses or what have you. And also, if the screws get loose, if this starts to get loose, you can tighten them up with a Phillips head screwdriver. It also comes with 4 different pairs of hands. So you get a pair of closed-fisted hands, then you get a pair of grip hands, then you get a pair of open hands, and then you get a pair of hands with the claws extended. And with all the hands, you've got the blue gloves, and then you've got the metallic silver little knobs for his claws on the top on his knuckles. And it looks like you have a little plate with some washwork, so it looks like it's an actual metal plate around those little knuckle pieces on his gloves. And then with the clawed hands, these are done with pretty thin plastic, so you do want to be careful, because if you pulled them, you could probably snap these off. They do not appear to be removable, so you can't actually take off individual claws with these clawed hands. You either have to have them with all 3 claws out or without his claws extended. Switching out the hands is pretty easy. You just pop off the hand you want to replace. You've got the little hole in the hand, and then you've got this ball peg joint here, and then you just plug in the hand that you want to replace it with, and it should pop in there fairly easily, and once you get it to pop in, it will fit nice and tight. We get Ogon's mask, and I believe this is unique to this particular version of Wolverine, which is kind of weird to me, because when I think of this mask, I actually think more of the brown costume than the Tiger Stripe version. But as it is, you do get the mask, and I think they've done a nice job with it. It looks pretty much like it appears in the comic books. It's got the black horns with a little bit of red wash, and then you've got some black wash on the red skin. He's got the yellow, he's got holes in the actual eyes there like a mask, and then you also have a hole in the mouth, but he's got the little fangs and everything. And basically on the back side it's unpainted, but it does definitely look like a mask, and looks like how the mask appears in the comic books. Finally, we get 3 different head sculpts with this one. So we get 2 masked head sculpts. One has a normal expression, and then the other has a more angry looking expression where he's gritting his teeth. And I like the detail on both of these masked heads. I like the way they've done the black portions of the mask, and these are done with kind of a hard plastic. So again, you don't want to catch them on anything, because you could possibly break them. But you also have some nice sculpting detail in the yellow portion. And I like the way the eyes look. The eyes are just kind of whited out like you often see with the masks, with Wolverine's masks. And then good skin tone overall. And then the second one, and he's kind of gritting his teeth, so definitely looks very angry with this one. And then the third head sculpt is an unmasked Logan head. And again, they've kind of done the gritting teeth thing with this one, but I don't really think it works very well for the unmasked head. I think it would have been better if they'd given us a more normal expression for this one. And I do like the way the hair is sculpted, and you got some nice wash effect in the hair, and he's got this little couple pieces that are hanging down over his forehead. He's got the wrinkles on his forehead and everything, but I just don't like the way that grin looks. Looks more like something you would see on the Joker and not Wolverine. Now for the figure itself, this is probably my favorite looking of the 112 Collective Wolverine figures that Mezco has done so far. So if I remember correctly, they've done 3. This one, the brown costume, which I wasn't terribly fond of. I didn't really like the way that one came out looking. And then the Old Man Logan, which I actually think is a pretty nice looking figure, but I still prefer the younger Tiger Stripe costume for Wolverine than the old man look. So by far this is my favorite of the 3 Wolverines that they've done, and I think this one comes out looking pretty good. You've got the shoulder pads, which are done with a hard plastic, and they are articulated, so they've got some up and down movement. And then you've got the actual cloth costume for the shirt, but I think it looks pretty good on this figure. Really, it's not very baggy, it's pretty tight on the figure, and I like the detailing. And you've got the black tiger stripes here on the side, and that's done with a leather type material, it feels like. And I like the line work on the cloth, so I think that looks pretty good. And then he's got this belt, which is a separate piece, and that's done with a plastic with the X-Men symbol on the front. And the X-Men symbol's got a shinier red color, and then you've got a wash effect on the leather pouches and everything, so it looks like it's actual leather. You've got the hair sculpted on the forearm, which is nice, with a little bit of wash work, so it looks like actual hair. And I like the skin tone on the arms. And then he's got the gauntlets, the gloves that have the straps with the buckles and everything. So I think that looks pretty good. And he's got the blue shorts. And unlike the brown costume Wolverine that they did, I think the shorts actually look pretty good on this figure. And then he's got the yellow pants, which again is done with a cloth material, and you've got the line work and everything. And then the boots, which I think they've done a pretty good job of capturing the look of, with the laces, and you got the little edges that stick out with the black. So overall, like I said, this is definitely by far my favorite looking Wolverine figure for the 112 Collective line. Okay, so this figure stands, if you count to the tips of his mask, just a little bit under 6.5 inches tall. So here's a comparison with some other Marvel 112 Collective figures. So we've got Captain America, Punisher, and Daredevil, and all of these are about the same height. Maybe Wolverine is a hair shorter than the others, but for the most part they are all pretty similar in height. Okay, and here's a comparison with several other different 6-inch Wolverine figures. So we've got the Revoltech Wolverine figure here, and then we've got 2 Hasbro Marvel Legend Wolverine figures, and then 3 Toy Biz Marvel Legend figures. And then finally, here's a comparison with some other 6-inch Hasbro Marvel Legends. So we've got Rogue, Kitty Pryde, Jim Lee Cyclops, and Colossus. So for articulation on the figure, you can turn the head to the left and to the right, and he can look down pretty good, and he can look up about that much. You can also pivot to the left and the right. The entire neck will move with the head, so you get pretty good head movement overall with the figure. Arms attached with your standard ball hinge joint there at the shoulder, so you can get the arm out good. And then you get rotation, and this entire shoulder pad will move with the arm. And again, you do have some articulation with those shoulder pads, but if you try and rotate the arm all the way around, it'll end up catching and pop it off. They easily pop off, and you can pop them back on if you want to, but just be wary of that. You get a bicep swivel, you get a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. You get rotation at the wrist, and then you've got those ball hinge joints, so depending on how you turn the ball hinge joint, you can either do the fists full left and right, or you can do them up and down. Then you've got a midsection joint here, so you can rotate there at the midsection. You can kind of pivot to the left and the right there. It is limited a little bit with the cloth outfit, but not too much. And it really doesn't have much crunching with this one. That's about as far as you can crunch forward. And then he can look back pretty good with this one. And then doesn't really feel like he has much in the way of a waist swivel. You can rotate a little bit there at the waist, but really not a whole lot. And then with the legs, he can do the splits that much. He can get his leg forward pretty good, and he can do his leg back about that much. You get a thigh swivel, but again, it's limited a little bit with the cloth outfit. You get double jointed knees, so good bending there at the knees. You've got, feels like a rotation there at the boot cuff a little bit. Not a whole lot, but you do get some rotation there. And then with the feet, you get some up and down movement, and you get rotation, but not a whole lot in the way of actual ankle pivot. And then 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I think this is a nice nice looking figure, and by far the best looking Wolverine figure they've done for the 112 Collective line. I think if you're a fan of the 112 Collective line, this is one you'll definitely want to add to your collection. Now this figure, as I mentioned before, was initially offered as a New York Comic Con exclusive, and it did quickly sell out there. So if you haven't already added this one to your collection, you'll probably have to resort to the secondary market such as eBay and such to try and pick it up. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. You can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later.